Hello everyone, my name is Elena and I'm the founder of the Kids Table, and I'm really happy to be here making graham crackers with you guys. So I think I have all my stuff here, but I thought I would just start going over my ingredients to double check that I have everything, and then as you guys are coming on, you can also be double checking your ingredients. So we've got, let's see here. I'm gonna start with the top. I've got 3 tablespoons of softened butter. It's not quite soft, but I've got that sitting in my bowl already. So for those of you just joining us, we're making homemade graham crackers today, which I've got some fun facts about that, about graham crackers later. Right now I'm just going over all the ingredients that we need to make our graham crackers, to make sure you guys have everything. So I've got my 3 tablespoons of butter in my bowl already. I've got some brown sugar and some white sugar. I need 2 tablespoons of each. I've got some oil, so any neutral oil will work. We use sunflower oil. It's not actually really that neutral. It has a nice sunflower scent, but we get it from a local farm in Wisconsin, which I think is pretty cool. So we also have honey and a little applesauce. Let's see, we've got vanilla, cinnamon, and baking soda, salt, and whole wheat flour. Great. So those are the ingredients that we need for our graham crackers. So again, we're making graham crackers today. My name is Elena, here at the Kids Table. In our back room, as you can see, well, one of these days we'll get around to hanging our fruits up. Do you like those? My parents made those. Isn't that awesome? I may need to place another order. Hey, Jocelyn and Lila, welcome. Hopefully you guys have all your ingredients out. Are you guys ready to go? Make sure to have your recipe handy. I'll go over everything, but it's helpful if you can have it up like a split screen or something, or if you printed it out or something, just so you can reference it. As far as equipment goes, we need obviously a mixing bowl and a spoon. The equipment for this is so little, which I love, because you know what that means, fewer dishes. So mixing bowl, wooden spoon, and then we need a variety of measuring tools, actually not even that many. We need a tablespoon, a half teaspoon, and a quarter teaspoon. So I have those guys right here. And then we need a cup and a quarter cup. I couldn't find a quarter cup or a cup, and so I've got a half cup, and then I'm gonna use a tablespoon. So you guys can think about how many tablespoons are in a quarter cup. Go ahead and guess now, I'll tell you later. Oh, hi Aaliyah and Ran. Awesome, so glad you guys could join us. Okay, then we need a piece of parchment paper. This helps with sticking issues. You can also use one of those silicone baking mats. Rolling pin, baking sheet, and a butter knife and a fork. And that should be it. That should do it for us. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and preheat your oven. And we want to preheat to 350 degrees. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully you guys are all ready. If you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. And let's get going. So I've got 3 tablespoons. It looks like more, but I just cut it into slices because I just took my butter out of the fridge. So my butter is not softened. Hopefully yours is more soft than mine. I'm just gonna have to work my muscles a little bit more to, oh, it's not that bad actually, to smash it up with my wooden spoon. That's why I love, love, love to use a wooden spoon when we're doing stuff like creaming butter and sugars, because that's kind of what we're doing. So we've got the butter here. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons of each sugar, okay? So 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of white sugar. So if you're just joining us, we're making homemade graham crackers. I've got 3 tablespoons of butter in my bowl, And now I'm gonna use my tablespoon measure, and I'm gonna go ahead, let me move some of my stuff so that my workspace isn't as crowded. I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 tablespoons of each sugar. So I'm gonna start with my white sugar. So 1 big scoop, and then of course, level it off over the bowl, over the ingredient bowl, not over this bowl, then it'll all end up in there. So 1 and 2. And then 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Do you guys know, here's another quiz. Do you guys know, oh, hey, Jackie, Chelsea. Oh my gosh, Chelsea's doing camp with Chef Sam right now. He's in the other room. That's awesome. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Brown sugar, you pack it down. Okay, that's normally how brown sugar measurements are what's assumed there is you pack it down. And I've probably asked this before, guys, but if you've heard it before, then you'll get it right. Anybody know what ingredient you put into sugar to make brown sugar? I just made some brown sugar at home actually yesterday. So see, put it in the comment box if you know. So we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Okay, 1 and 2, pack it down. 2, perfect. Okay, so we've got our butter and our sugar. Before we go on, I'm gonna try to mix it up a little bit. Sugars, right? White sugar and brown sugar. Anybody know what ingredient you mix into white sugar to make brown sugar? Anyone? It's changed my life. Doing this. I make my own brown sugar all the time. I don't even buy it anymore because you open the packet and then it doesn't quite seal up all the way, and then you go to use it again and it's hard as a rock. So this, I just make my own brown sugar and then stick it in a jar, seal it nice and tight. Anyone? All right, I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes. See if you can guess. Hopefully your butter is a little softer than mine, because I'm having a hard time creaming my butter. So I'm kind of smashing it like this a little bit, which is totally fine. As I work it, it will soften, so I'm not worried. So just kind of smash and stir. Now make sure that whether you're smashing or stirring, hold your bowl with the other hand, right? I hold my spoon in my right hand because that's the hand I write with and draw with. I don't do a lot of drawing, but you know. And then hold the bowl with my other hand to keep it from moving around and maybe falling on the floor. Nobody's got any guesses for the ingredient you put in sugar to make brown sugar? No one? All right, if by the time I'm ready to put the next ingredient in, whoa, did you guys see that? I just splattered little bits of butter and sugar everywhere. Oops. I'll have to clean that up after class. If by the time we're ready to put our next ingredient in, nobody's guessed, I'll tell you guys. I don't want to leave you hanging. All right. So I've got my butter and sugars creamed about as much as they're going to get creamed right now, given that my butter is still a little firm. But I'm going to go ahead and put in my next ingredient. Actually, the next couple ingredients are going to help soften up my butter. So the next 2 ingredients are oil and honey. And so this is a fun little trick because, when you measure honey, it's very sticky. Oil is very greasy and slippery. Honey is very sticky. So if you fill a measuring spoon with honey, I don't know if you've ever done this, but like a third of the honey stays in the spoon, right? And then you got to get something and try to scrape it out. So here though, since we're using oil too, you measure the oil first, then the honey. You're like greasing the spoon. So then the honey will slip right out. It's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna do it up close for you guys so you can see. So I've got my sunflower seed oil. You can use grapeseed oil, canola oil. You could use coconut oil if you want a little coconut flavor. You could use avocado oil. Any of those oils work. So I'm gonna do 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm gonna fill all the way to the top. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, So since nobody guessed on the how to make brown sugar, I will tell you. The ingredient you mix into sugar to make brown sugar is molasses. Super cool. So basically you can make your brown sugar as dark or light as you want. Usually I do 1 cup of sugar to 1 tablespoon of molasses. And then just use a fork to get it as mixed as you can, but then you got to get in there with your fingers and really break up the clumps of molasses. It's a really fun process. Highly recommend it. A little messy. But you know, just a hand wash gets all that sugar off your fingers. Yes! Jackie, you got it! Okay, there was a delay in my comment. Yes, molasses. Okay, so now I've got my oil in, so my spoon is greased up. This is where the magic happens. So I've got my honey, raw unfiltered honey. I didn't know Honey Bears made raw unfiltered, but that's a good thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up all the way and watch how easily the honey will slip right out. Check it out. I'm gonna show you the spoon. There is almost no honey left in it. Look at that. Amazing, right? Grease your spoon. It's these little things that make life just a little bit easier, you know? Okay, so this time, you know, my spoon might be a little less greased, so it might, we'll see if it all comes out. Definitely there's a little bit more honey stuck in there, but still barely compared to what you would normally see. Look at that, see? Still almost all gone. Amazing. Okay, so let's do a quick ingredient check. I'm gonna go over what I have in my bowl, make sure we're on track. You guys double check you have everything, and then once we know we're all on the same page, you can send me, you know, your little thumbs up or heart emojis. That would be great. So we have 3 tablespoons of softened butter in our bowl. And remember, if you're just joining us now, we're making homemade graham crackers. 3 tablespoons softened butter. We have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of white sugar. We have 3 tablespoons of oil, and we have 2 tablespoons of honey. Is everybody with me so far? Thumbs up, heart emoji, big smile emoji, laughter emoji, whatever you're feeling. Ideally, no angry emojis, but you know, if you're not feeling good today, that's okay. I won't take it personally. So I'm gonna go ahead and stir and wait for you guys to give me a sign that you are with me and that we're ready to move on to the next ingredient, because I don't want to leave anybody behind. I'll also show you what my batter looks like because it is starting to come together. My butter is finally softening. It's now been out for, you know, about half an hour. Oh, I think I got an emoji. I think I blinked for too long. I might have missed it. I got one. I'll wait for a couple more. Make sure you guys are with me. All right, there we got another one, a heart. Thanks, guys. I hurt you too. Okay, so let me show you what my batter looks like. And then yours might, if you softened your butter before the class, yours is gonna probably look a little better than mine. But like I said, I'm not too worried. Let me show you. You'll see that I still have some butter clumps in there, and that's only because my butter wasn't as soft as it ideally should have been before I started. Okay, now we're ready to move on. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons of applesauce. That is our last bulky ingredient before, I mean, of course we need to add flour at the end, not to give that away. But then we're gonna move on to some leavener and some seasoning. So we're gonna do applesauce. So we're gonna get our tablespoon out again. We can use the same one. No need to dirty anything else. And then let's see, we're gonna do 1. Now when you level, so look, when you measure applesauce, you want a level scoop too. I don't recommend leveling it with your finger. You could, but your finger's gonna get really applesaucey. So you can just kind of, you know, dump out enough and just make sure you have a nice level scoop. We're gonna do 2. Oh my gosh, you know what I didn't do is I didn't remind you guys to all wash your hands. Hopefully you've been to enough of these classes and you know that when you cook, you wash your hands. I washed my hands before I started, so better late than never if you haven't, but I feel like all you guys are on top of that. So sorry though, I should have reminded you. Okay, 2 tablespoons of applesauce. I got both in here, and we're gonna put that to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a good stir. Now, we are gonna move on to 2 seasonings. We are gonna put a little vanilla in here, and we're gonna put a little cinnamon in here. And this is the part where I love to use my nose. Well, actually, you can smell your batter now. It doesn't smell like much. I don't really want to taste it yet. By the way, we can taste our batter today before we roll it out because there's no raw egg in it, which is amazing, right? So we'll be able to taste our batter. But right now, I'm smelling it. It doesn't smell that great, but it will. It will, don't worry. We are gonna use a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and cinnamon. Now, I'm gonna measure my cinnamon first because the vanilla is gonna get my 1/2 teaspoon wet, and then I won't be able to measure my cinnamon without it all sticking. So I'm gonna do cinnamon first, then vanilla. I'm gonna smell my cinnamon. Make sure to smell gently. You don't wanna suck cinnamon into your nose. I think that would burn. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So I'm gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Remember to level it. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon. And before I do my vanilla, I'm gonna stir in my cinnamon and smell my batter again. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Now it smells good enough to taste, but because it's so goopy, I don't really want to taste it yet. I'm gonna wait till right before we roll it out to taste it. Okay, vanilla, all right? I'm gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Oh, make sure to smell the vanilla first. Vanilla is one of those ingredients though that, you know, smells really good, does not taste good on its own. So, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, stir, and smell. Smells so good. So, now we are gonna put a leavener in here. So the leavener we use for the graham crackers is baking soda. So we actually don't want our graham crackers to get really puffed up like you would a cake, right? So we're only gonna put a little bit of baking soda, just a 1/4 teaspoon for our whole batch of cookies, or crackers, graham crackers. They're like cookies. So I've got my 1/4 teaspoon measure, and I've got my baking soda, and I'm gonna go ahead and take a big scoop, and again, level it off. And we're gonna dump that right in here. And then last thing before our flour is our salt. So it seems kind of weird to put salt in something that's supposed to be sweet, but salt is a flavor enhancer. It like brings out the flavors of the food, and so it actually makes baked goods, sweet treats taste sweeter, which is kind of fun. So that's why you see a little bit of salt in a lot of baking recipes. So there we go, 1/4 teaspoon salt. Now, we are gonna add our flour last. And before we do that, let's do one more quick ingredient check just to make sure everybody's with us, okay? Let's see if I can do it without, well, I don't wanna do it without looking. So what if I get it wrong and then you guys get it wrong? Okay, we've got 3 tablespoons of butter in here. We have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of white sugar. We have 3 tablespoons of oil. We have 2 tablespoons of honey. We have 2 tablespoons of applesauce. And then we had a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now we just need to add our flour. So this recipe actually uses all whole wheat flour, which I love that. So that means that our graham crackers are whole grain, like 100% whole grain. Not like that kind of whole grain that's mostly white and then they put like a sprinkle of whole grain flour in it so they can call it made with whole grains. Not like that. This is all whole wheat flour. And by the way, just like we get our oil from a local farm in Wisconsin, we get our flour from a local farm in Southern Illinois called the Mill at Janie's Farm. And we get our all-purpose flour there, we get our whole wheat flour there, and it is amazing. One of these days we'll start selling it in little packages so that you guys can experience it as well. Because I haven't seen their flour sold in stores anywhere. It's got to be sold somewhere, but anyway. we are gonna do 1 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour plus 2 tablespoons. I know that's like a lot of measuring. As I mentioned at the start, I actually couldn't find I couldn't find a 1 cup measure, and I couldn't find a 1/4 cup measure. So I'm gonna use just a 1/2 cup and a tablespoon. So obviously to make 1 cup, I'm gonna do 2 1/2 cups. So I'm gonna do a 1/2 cup, make sure to level. Okay, so 1 1/2 cup. And then second 1/2 cup, so that's my 1 cup. And then here's a little quiz for you guys. Anybody know how many tablespoons are in a 1/4 cup? So these are math comes in very handy dandy in the kitchen. So, where'd my tablespoon go? Oh, that's covered in alcohol. Okay. Anybody know? Any guesses for how many tablespoons are in a 1/4 cup? And maybe you don't need to guess. Maybe you know. Maybe you know. I'll give you guys a few minutes. I'm gonna first do the 2 tables because we need 1 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna do the 2 tablespoons, and then all I'll have left is the 1/4 cup. I know there's sometimes a delay in the comments, so I wanna make sure that you guys get a chance to answer my question. How many tablespoons are in a 1/4 cup? Okay, I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna start measuring my 1/4 cup, and I'll just start doing it to still give you guys a chance to guess. And make sure to level, very important, without packing down. Okay, we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago. Do not pack down your flour. Level it very gently, so it's not packed, it's just level, loosely packed. 1. Oops, I wasn't full. Make sure it's all the way full and then level. 2. 3. This is it. This is the answer. 4. There are 4 tablespoons in a 1/4 cup. 16 tablespoons in 1 cup. 8 tablespoons in a 1/2 cup. You see where this is going? Okay, great. So hopefully you guys have all your ingredients in your bowl now. You've got your flour in here. Now this is where the flour really bulks up our graham cracker dough. So we're gonna stir it until it's totally incorporated, because right now you can see there's you see the flour, it's all separate, right? We wanna mix it up until it's very well combined. And it's going to be a bit like a little bit of a wet dough. It's gonna be a little greasy feeling, and that's okay. But you should be able to press it together to make it into a ball, okay? And by the way, so I think what we should do is we'll save our spoon for the end for licking it to taste our batter, okay? So my flour is totally incorporated. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So you can see that there's no more loose flour in there. And now let me see if I can kind of gently, I'm gonna take most of the batter off. I'll leave a little bit for licking, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do it after. Okay. Yeah, so let me show you what mine looks like. So it is a little bit wet, but you can pick it up and it's not gonna stick to your hands too much. See? So it's like sticking just a tiny bit, but overall not really. See, and it's soft though. It's a soft dough, and it's shiny, and it makes my hands kind of greasy, but it's not sticking too much. If your graham cracker dough is sticking too much, you can add just a sprinkle more flour, but you definitely don't want it to be dry. Okay? Is everybody good? You can always type in if you have any questions about your dough. Of course, I can't see it, which is kind of a bummer. One of the limitations of Facebook Live. So I've got my parchment here, and I'm going to go ahead and roll out my dough. Now this is, let's see if it's gonna stick to my rolling pin. Oops, of course my parchment is moving around a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on top, just a little bit, so it doesn't stick too much to my rolling pin. Okay. And I just heard my phone ding. I put it on airplane mode, but I guess since it's still on Wi-Fi, it made noise. Let's just avoid that, keep that from happening any longer. I just floured my phone, but hazard of my job. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and roll this out to be about a 1/4 inch thick. So I've got this awesome little mini rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin at home, we've told people to use, yeah, that's right, to use a bottle or something, like an empty bottle, like even a wine bottle. I know that feels a little weird if you're doing it with kids, but you know, whatever. I'm gonna add a little bit more flour. So the one thing you wanna keep in mind when you're rolling out your graham crackers is to try to roll it pretty evenly. Okay, and if it starts sticking your rolling pin, just again, give it another sprinkle of flour. Okay. So you want it doesn't need to be perfect, but you don't want some parts of your cracker to be really high, really thick, and other parts to be really thin, right? And we want it to be, like I mentioned, about a 1/4 inch thick. And while these are baking, I'll tell you about some fun facts about graham crackers. Okay. All right, I think this looks good. So mine is not an exact rectangle. So the edges of my crackers are gonna be a little curvy. I think it adds character. So I'm gonna show you how thick mine is. Maybe it feels a little, there we go. All right, let's see if I can show you. So it's pretty thin. It's actually a little thinner than a 1/4 inch. It's probably more like 1/8 of an inch. But I think that's perfect. So now you can use a butter knife to cut it into crackers. Don't cut all the way through. Just cut about like partway, maybe halfway through the cracker. You don't want to separate them now. You just want to be able to break them apart like you would if you bought graham crackers, right? So you can make the crackers whatever size you want. Don't make them super tiny. I'm gonna make mine in like little, you know, maybe 2 by 4 or so inch. So, you know, you're just kind of tracing, you know, pressing down a little bit, but not cutting all the way through. So I'm gonna do all my vertical lines first, and then I'll come back and do my horizontal lines. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, and I'm gonna go this way. I'm pretty excited to eat these. Again, I didn't eat breakfast before class. It's really not good. Next week, you guys can ask me if I ate breakfast and I'm gonna say yes. Okay, I'm committing to eating breakfast next week. They say it's the most important meal of the day. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on my baking sheet now because I wanna be able to lift it up and better show you what mine looks like so far. So check it out. So now we take a fork and we poke little, just a couple, again, not all the way through, just poke a few holes in the top. All right. And then this is it. It's time to put them in the oven. I'm so excited. So this is now what they look like. Hopefully you can see. I think I need to get a better light in here. Okay. So are you guys all good? Are you with me? Are you ready to, are your graham crackers pretty much ready to go in the oven? Hopefully, hopefully. Now these bake at 350, like I mentioned, and they only take about 7 or 8 minutes. So we just want to wait. We bake them until the edges are lightly browned. Okay, and they've lost that shine, right? So they look cooked and the edges are lightly browned. So I'm gonna go put my graham crackers in the oven, and then when we get back, I don't know about you guys, I'm gonna taste my batter. Pretty excited about it, and I'll tell you a couple fun facts about graham crackers. All right, be right back. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna taste this. Oh my gosh, it's so good. The cinnamon, the vanilla. I bet you could take this dough and break it into little balls and mix it into ice cream. Like make your own, ice cream mix. That would be so good. And since there's no raw egg in it, you don't have to worry about that part of it. I'm gonna keep eating. So good. Did you guys try your batter? Is anybody licking spoons? It's good to wait till you're done putting the graham crackers in the oven so you don't contaminate the rest of your batter with your germs, right? If we've learned nothing else during this pandemic, it's how important it is to keep your germs to yourself. So, in all of our recipe cards, we always have this little intro paragraph. And I write all the recipe cards, so I have a lot of fun doing this because we always like to include some fun facts. Okay, so I'm going to read you what it says. In the early 1800s, it's like story time while our graham crackers bake. In the early 1800s, bread started being made in factories instead of homes and with processed white flour. Sylvester Graham, so by the way, processed white flour is basically, they take the grain and they strip the wheat grain and they strip out, basically most of the nutrients from it, right? And then they try to, and actually probably at this time they weren't even enriching it. They ended up starting to try to put vitamins back in because they realized that people weren't getting the nutrients that they needed. Anyway, so this was in the early 1800s. So people weren't making bread at home anymore, or at least not as often. Bread was starting to be made in factories and they were using white processed flour. Sylvester Graham, an evangelical minister, believed this nutritional decline would breed evil. He began selling whole wheat or graham flour with his own recipe for graham bread. Okay, so his name is Sylvester Graham. He was very upset about this processed white flour being used. He thought it was going to be bad for people, presumably physically, but also even, it sounds like emotionally. And so he started selling whole wheat flour and he called it graham flour because it was, basically named after him. And on the package was a recipe for graham bread. Okay, which was really a wholesome brown bread that my guess is probably didn't have any sugar in it, right? So I wonder what he would, so that's kind of the origin of the graham cracker. That's kind of how the story progresses and explains why it typically uses all whole wheat flour. But obviously it's morphed a little bit. We've got honey and sugars and everything, so hopefully he wouldn't be too upset with us, but kind of a neat story, right? The other thing I want to mention is that we use this graham cracker dough to make graham cracker pie crust too. So that's another thing that you could do with this dough, is just make the graham cracker dough just like we did, and then instead of rolling it out, press it into a pie pan and, poke a few holes. So try that out. I didn't finish licking my spoon. You know what I didn't do? I didn't set a timer. So I'm gonna take a peek at my graham crackers. I feel like it's only been about 4 minutes, so they're probably not done yet. Oops, my apron stuck to my chair. Well, they're getting there. Okay, they're getting there, but they're not ready yet. I think a few more minutes. So it's 11:36 right now, so I think by 11:40 my graham crackers will be done. So, hopefully yours are in the oven. Why don't you guys tell me? So I need to start figuring out the menu for the next few weeks. Next week we are making spinach artichoke dip, which is so delicious. Okay, like I don't want to build it up, but it's really, really good. But after that, we don't have any menus up for our Facebook Live classes. Does anybody have any requests or ideas? Something that you've been wanting to make, right? Then maybe we could put it up, if we have a recipe for it. So yeah, if anybody wants to comment in and let us with any special requests for our Facebook Live menu for, I guess that's into July, for the month of July, I'd love to know. And I'll tell you too, I'll take this opportunity to tell you too, we've got, this is our second week of virtual summer camp. It's been amazing. People are loving it. The kids get to essentially make a meal for their family every day because they're cooking for, 4 to 6 servings. It's been really fun. So if you're interested at all, check that out. We also just posted our new Zoom class series for our 1-hour classes for tots, kids, and teens. One of our themes is Cupcake Wars, sweet and savory. So not just all sweet, sweet and savory. And the other theme is Summer Sensations. I don't know about you guys, but we love cooking with the season for many reasons. I think it's cool that the food doesn't have to travel super far to get to us, and ideally you can get stuff at farmers markets. And also, I think there's something to be said for eating things that are growing around here right now in terms of the health, getting good nutrients from our body and kind of being in sync with nature. And the produce tastes so much better. Oh, so as far as recipe requests go, I've heard that you guys like surprises. Amazing. Okay, so no requests. That's totally cool. I'm happy to get creative with this. We have so many recipes to choose from. Probably hundreds and hundreds at this point, I would guess. So I'll come up with something good. So let me ask you this though, are we ready to move beyond baking? That's the other thing, is we've been doing baking every Wednesday for the past probably month or two, maybe more, maybe since March. We could, mix it up and start, broadening our horizons and doing some other things that aren't just baked goods. Oh, yeah, I've heard that, and we've got a yes on the expanding horizons. Great. Maybe I'll switch up the series starting next one. Maybe we'll make it a summary series featuring like in-season fresh produce. That could be fun. So, question about whole wheat flour. I have heard that whole wheat flour is hard to come by. Obviously a lot of places aren't doing bulk. The place I go to has bulk, but you can't get your own bulk stuff now. They prepackage it. Your best bet, honestly, is a more natural focused food store. That they're more likely to have it. I mean, your regular supermarkets should have it, but I have heard this problem from a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, you could always order it online. I know that's kind of not ideal. I don't like to order food online. I really like to go and pick stuff out. But I would try natural food stores, and then otherwise, if you can't, ordering it online. So sorry, I don't have any better answers. Oh my gosh, my graham crackers are probably done. I'm gonna go grab them, and we'll see what they look like. Oh, they look so good. Okay, so you can see that mine aren't shiny anymore. They're just very lightly browned around the edges. So that's what we're looking for this, okay? So you'll want to put them on a cooling rack if you can. I just went ahead and slid my parchment paper off the hot baking sheet and put them on the cool table to help them cool, because you're not going to want to break them up right away. Yeah, so it says If you can let them cool on a wire rack, that's ideal. You can put them on a cold counter, but they might get a little wet. So I think a rack is best if you have one. And then once they're completely cool, ideally you would then separate the crackers. And since you made that partial cut line in there, they'll be very easy to kind of break apart. All right, so I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna taste one now because, and you can taste one warm, by the way. They just won't be very crackery. They'll be more cakey. See, mine are still pretty soft. But I'm gonna go ahead and taste it so I can taste it with you. So good. I kind of wish I had rolled mine out a little bit thinner. So yeah, the recipe says 1/4 inch. I would go at least an eighth of an inch thin. And that's what we did. But I feel like it could almost be even a little bit thinner. Just like a little bit. Oh my gosh. Did you try yours warm? Did anybody taste it warm? So good. We did a good job. Thank you so much for cooking with me today. And what we'll do is I'll go ahead and put this video on our website. Obviously, we'll save it on Facebook. You can, if you don't have the recipe already, you can find it on our website. We'll put the video and the recipe all together in our video archive so you can go back and do the class whenever you want. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Have a great Father's Day weekend, and I hope to see you soon. And remember, next week, spinach artichoke dip. It's delicious. Bye, guys.